G'day ladies and gents, and welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to the first of my subscriber replays. Yes, I know many of you have been waiting for me to actually start doing these. It's taken a long time to sort out the first videos that I wanted to show off. You guys sent in so many battles in such a short period of time, it has literally taken me the weeks since I made the announcement that I would be accepting replays to narrow it down to 15. And in the end, I ended up picking this battle here. And honestly, I selected this one at random out of the final 15. Now, this is Warwolf69 and his P-47, and he is about to have one monster match. So we'll flick over to his point of view. Now, up to this point, Warwolf has clomb out to around 10,000 feet and then dove into the city of Berlin. Now, this is Berlin alternate history, so this is the Allied forces versus Russia. And he's just engaged his first IL-2. Taking the P-47 directly into the vertical and beginning a rollover, positioning himself above a second IL-2 that moved into attack, and then beginning a dive down on the target. Now, the IL-2 is an incredibly durable aircraft, but the P-47 does have 850 caliber machine guns and a metric shit ton of ammunition. So Warwolf's first couple of bursts miss, but he slowly shifts his lead forward, clips the center of the aircraft, and boom, first kill of the match. Checking his 6 as he climbs out, he spots the first IL-2 that he engaged. Now, it is being engaged by another aircraft, however, it looks like the other aircraft has overshot the IL-2 and is out of position. Warwolf, not going to let the IL-2 get away, puts rounds into it and puts it down. Now, to be fair, it did look like that IL-2 was about to go into the deck anyway. But Warwolf really doesn't have time to think about that. He's got to pull it into a hard left bank. A P-39K is approaching fast, just cut straight over the top of him. Immediately reverse the turn to pull in on the P-39K. Bring the guns around to bear. He's going to try and make a sneaky long shot. Now, it doesn't land home, but that is one thing you can afford to do in the P-47. It has so much ammunition on board that providing you keep it in a tight controlled burst, you can afford to take a sneaky long shot from time to time, even if it's got a fairly low chance of actually landing, on the off chance that those rounds actually do nail it home. Now, the P-39K opens up the gap to around 1.5 kilometers before beginning a turn to come back around against Warwolf, but this isn't a big enough gap. The P-39 is going to try and go head on, but Warwolf was able to take the lead and put the first shots into the P-39 before it was able to get its nose around. So it was on fire and burning before it had a firing solution, and at that point, Warwolf was already dodging out of the way. So we're a little over 2.5 minutes into the beginning of combat in this particular match, and we have already taken 3 kills. At this point, Warwolf has a little bit of time to have a breather and assess what's going on in the battlefield. Most of his team is still in the midfield. There's very few people over in his particular area. No hostiles seem to be in the area either, so he now has the opportunity to take a breather and get some of that much needed altitude to set himself up for the next series of engagements. So after 1.5 to 2 minutes of relaxing flying, Warwolf has finally spotted a second target. It's a dot moving in distance. He's currently closing in on it. It's at low altitude flying over the city. And it looks to be making a beeline straight for the central runway. And there we go, we've got the target marker up on it. It's an LA-5. It looks like it's going in for a landing. Now at this range, if Warwolf can see the LA-5 can see Warwolf, and it looks like the LA-5 just put himself into the ground deliberately in order to prevent Warwolf from taking the kill. But that's not going to stop Warwolf. He lines up the shot and puts a couple of bursts in just to make sure there is no chance of the LA-5 repairing and coming back to hit him from behind. Quick critical strike to the central gear leg, as it always seems to be, and that secures Warwolf his first assist of the match. Now at this point, Warwolf finds himself once again without any targets to attack. He is heading back towards the F4U and back towards his own runway, but it was about at this point that he spotted a couple of dots flying around above the F4U. Enemy targets that he currently can't see. So he's putting the plane immediately into a climb, making sure he's checking his climb angle for optimum climb rate, and trying to get himself back to altitude as fast as he can to begin the third phase of this engagement. So another uninterrupted 1.5 minutes of climbing later, and Warwolf, now at just over 6,000 feet, has finally come across his first target. It's another LA-5 at altitude. However, this LA-5 is not alone. We can't see the markers for it at the moment, but there is 2 additional aircraft in the area. So Warwolf is about to go headlong into a 3 versus 1 engagement. First target he's going for is the LA-5. Now he is climbing still, but he's not climbing as aggressively as he was before. He's trying to control his engine speed just enough that he's able to get the opportunity to get the nose up for a sneaky long range shot before he has to pull away. And as he finally drops down below 200 kilometers an hour, he manages to get those shots in. The LA-5 lights up. He immediately rolls the nose down, opens up the throttles to try and gain his airspeed back as fast as he possibly can, and follows the wreck just to make sure it's not going to go out. With the LA-5 clearly being confirmed as damaged beyond repair, Warwolf opens up the throttles and begins extending a gap to get ready for his turn back. The second aircraft is approaching in rapidly. It's a Yak-1. Now, engaging the Yak-1 is problematic in a P-47 Thunderbolt, especially in this situation. At the moment, he doesn't have a definitive altitude advantage. The Yak-1 is easily more manoeuvrable at sub 10,000 feet. If the Yak-1 pilot is smart, he can make himself extremely difficult to kill. And he's not dumb. Warwolf was clearly advertising his intent to go head-on. The Yak-1 banks out of the way and manages to avoid that initial burst, cutting underneath Warwolf's P-47. But what happens here is a beautiful example of deflection shooting. Rather than trying to follow the Yak-1 through the turns in a situation where he is trapped in a turning engagement, he instead starts trying to position the aircraft so that the guns will fall onto the lead for the Yak-1, and he secures himself a fire and his 5th kill for the match. Now, there were originally 3 aircraft in range when Warwolf first went into this engagement. Now, the 3rd fighter has gone missing, however an IL-2 has just shown up in its place. It seems the IL-2 saw the Yak-1 and the P-47 falling towards the earth in a spiral, and thought he'd take the opportunity to maybe get a sneaky kill. Warwolf takes the P-47 into the vertical, the IL-2 tries to follow and stalls out. As it's falling down in its stall, Warwolf brings it around, but he just took a hit, and it sounded like 50 caliber fire. He continues on the IL-2, pumping rounds into it until it lights on fire, and then immediately banks out of the area and opens up the throttle to try and avoid the next pass. And sure enough, there is the next target. It's a P-63A5. Now, at this point, Warwolf is actually in a little bit of trouble. He's trapped in a vertical maneuver against a P-63 that easily has an energy advantage on him. And he's dropped below 200 kilometers an hour, so he's gently trying to wing the plane around so he doesn't tip it over and begin to re-dive to get his speed back, until he's at altitude with the P-63, and at this point he's immediately throwing the aircraft into a hard descending spiral. This move is purely defensive. At this altitude, the P-63 will out-accelerate him from these speeds and is more manoeuvrable in the turns. But as you can hear, he's working the flaps and the throttle hard, as much as the animation in the replay isn't showing it. What he's trying to do is get this P-63 to hold this spiral with him as long as possible. As each rotation of the spiral goes through, the P-63's energy is dropping down and neutralizing itself against the P-47. With each rotation, he's leveling the playing field. Up until this point, where he's decided the P-63 has dropped enough energy and immediately reverses his turn and enters a scissors. At this point, he backs off the throttles, applies hard flaps, and tries to cut in. He's counting on the P-63 keeping its throttles up, allowing him to each pass slowly bring the guns closer and closer to the P-63. Now, he got a little bit too close in, took a slight clipping from 50 caliber fire, nothing major, but this was the pass. The P-63 goes wide, is unable to bring it around fast enough. Warwolf takes aim at the bottom wing and cripples the right wing on the P-63, and at this point he's not turning back. He's opened the throttles up to full. He is trying to open a gap between the two aircraft. The P-63 is now damaged. Its turning is going to be more sluggish. It's got to bring itself back around. He doesn't know exactly how much damage he's done, but those 50 cals definitely landed home. And it doesn't really matter how much damage he's done at this point. Any damage at all to a P-63's wings will drop its manoeuvrability and make it more sluggish in the turns. With the throttles wide open, the P-47 is faster than the P-63 now, and coupled with the P-63's wide turn due to that wing damage, he's already managed to open out a 2-kilometer gap and start climbing while still opening the gap. The P-63 failing to land a shot to kill him while it had the opportunity to do so has opened up a window that has allowed Warwolf to take the advantage back from the P-63. And the next engagement between the two is going to be entirely on Warwolf's terms. Still at 365 kilometers an hour, although we are falling relatively quickly, Warwolf has increased the angle of climb on the P-47. He's trying to get as much altitude as he possibly can before he makes this turn back. Now, the P-63 seems to be having some major dramas at this point. It's still on the deck. It has made absolutely no attempt to climb after Warwolf, and it's falling behind at the same time. At this point, Warwolf has all the advantage he needs to control this engagement, so he begins his turn back to engage the P-63. Now, Warwolf is aware that P-63 pilots really do enjoy their head-on, so he lines up the shot at long range, fires one burst and immediately pulls up. He wants the P-63 to try and go vertical following him, exactly the same manoeuvre that he pulled against the IL-2 before. Continues the rollover, lines up the dive. The P-63 has stalled out trying to pursue. It's currently trying to level itself out and get some airspeed up to get away. This provides a perfect deflection shot, and Warwolf puts him down for his 7th kill. Now at this point Warwolf's down to about 6 minutes worth of fuel and down to his last 180 rounds on the P-47. So he desperately needs to return to base at this point, although he is not too worried as there's only one aircraft remaining on the enemy team. Warwolf has pretty much annihilated the entire enemy team himself. Of course at this point he is also the last man standing on his team. Still, the runway area seems to be safe. Nobody has seen the remaining aircraft on the enemy team. It's at the bottom of the ladder, it has no points, it has been completely invisible this entire match. And at this point, even if the aircraft was in the area, Warwolf would have to put down anyway. He's on vapors, the engine's about to die, he's got to put it on the ground, get some ammunition, get some fuel, and then he has one last trick up his sleeve to go and find this missing aircraft that, at this point, nobody who's still in chat that he's trying to talk to has any idea where it is. Now of course that last trick was the blind hunt order, and we've jumped forward about 8 minutes at this point. When he activated the blind hunt order just after taking off the runway, the remaining aircraft, an IL-4 that has done pretty much nothing the entire match, was 27 kilometers away. It was flying the entire back wall of the map all on its own, and had been all along. Now you would think that would mean the enemy aircraft is AFK, but that is not true. As you can see, the blind hunt order, the timer that Warwolf had available tracking the IL-4 just ran out. Now the blind hunt order doesn't expire. When this happens, it reverses. The IL-4 can now see Warwolf. And the second that order expired and Warwolf lit up for the IL-4, it immediately changed direction and tried to go evasive. Of course at that point, Warwolf had already found its dot and was tracking the dot. He no longer needed the marker to be able to find the aircraft. The IL-4 immediately goes evasive, but Warwolf at this point, full ammunition, full fuel load, no damage. It's an IL-4. 50 caliber tracer fire rips through both the fuel tanks, sparking both wings on fire. That's fatal. That will not go out. The IL-4's time is numbered in seconds, and at this point Warwolf knows it. He turns on the smoke and immediately goes into aerobatics around the aircraft. There's nothing left for him to do. This is an 8-kill, last man standing victory. So a big shout out once again to Warwolf69 from IKEA Squadron. This was an incredibly well played match with some extremely good tactical thought. And it's truly a pleasure to have it up on the channel, mate. Hope you enjoyed what I did with the video. To everybody else, I hope you enjoyed this wild ride. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.